Good morning, children. We've already completed the summary. Now we're going to do the line-wise explanation of this chapter, Nelson Mandela, Chapter 2, Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. Now kindly open page number 17. Now we're going to do the first paragraph. Kindly pay attention. 10th May dawned bright and clear. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and the world leaders who were coming to pay their respect before the inauguration. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South Africa's soil. Now we are talking about 10th May. How this date was important. What was the importance of this day in the life of people of Africa? This was a very important day. Now the first line. 10th May dawned bright and clear. 10th May started with a very bright and clear day. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries. Since last few days, he had been surrounded, he had been besieged by dignitaries. Now, besieged means he's surrounded closely by dignitaries, means important people and world leaders who were coming to pay the respect before the inauguration. Why so many people had come? Why people had come here to pay the respect before the inauguration? The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South Africa. Now, on the South African soil, this is going to be largest gathering. All the leaders had come. Why the large gathering was there? Because many people had come to pay respect before the inauguration. Now, the ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheatre formed by the Union Building in Pretoria. So where did the ceremonies take place? Ceremonies took place in amphitheatre. Now what is amphitheatre? It is supposed to be a building without a roof with many rows of seats rising in steps. Now here says this amphitheatre, this was made up of sandstone and it was formed by the Union Building and where it was there in Pretoria. For decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy. Now, this had been a decade for a number of years. It had been a seat of white supremacy. White supremacy here, it means that it had been dominated or it was overpowered. It was taken care of by the white people. Only white people were supreme power there in that time. And now it was a site of rainbow gathering of different colors and the nations for the installation of the South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. So what was the ceremony? Ceremony is here because for the first time South Africa's first democratic non-racial government would be installed. Now in this paragraph, rainbow gathering is very important here. What do you mean by rainbow gathering? People of different colors, they had got together. Different people of different nations, they have got together. Why they have got together here? Because this inauguration is there and this ceremony of the first democratic non-racial government. Now let's see the third paragraph. On the lovely autumn day. Now let us take this 10th May. The 10th May date was also called as autumn day. Why it is called as autumn day? Let us talk about this. It was literally an autumn day that day. And autumn, what happens? During autumn, all the trees, the leaves of the old leaves, and old and rotten leaves, they fall down. And after that, new leaves with fresh colors are born. Symbolically, what it means, the old and the rotten system of apartheid had come to an end. A new republic which will be based on racial discrimination, now which is not based on racial discrimination, was going to come up. So now a non-racial government, not on the discrimination, this is going to come out. This is going to be installed. That is why this 10th May is called as Autumn Day. On this lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Zinani. So who accompanied him that day? The name of the daughter was Zinani. On the podium, Mr. De Klerk was first sworn in as the second deputy president. So who sworn in as the second deputy president? Mr. De Klerk. Turn the page now, children. Please turn to page number 18. Now the Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as the first deputy president when it was my turn. So first deputy president was Mr. Thabo Mbeki. And after that, whose chance came? Now the chance of Nelson Mandela came. Now when he came up to the stage, to the podium, he says that I pledge to obey and uphold the constitution and devote myself to the well-being of the public and its people. So what did he pledge? What did he pledge that day? He pledged to obey and uphold what do you mean by support the constitution, and to devote myself to the well-being of the republic and its people. And he said that he's going to work, he's going to devote his life for the well-being of the republic and its people. To the assembled guests and the watching world, I said. Now, here we are going to talk about his speech. What all were the contents of his speech? What all did he speak in his speech? Now he says that today all of us do, by our presence here, confer glory. Confer glory, confer means give. Give glory and hope to the newborn liberty. Newborn liberty. New democratic government was being found out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long. Now, which human disaster we are talking about here? Apartheid. Now, he says that must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. Now, he says that a society will be born, a society which will all the humanity, all the human people, all the people are going to be proud of. We were outlaws not long ago. Now I say that they were considered as outlaws earlier, the people who break the laws. Today have been given the rare privilege. Privilege means a special right. Now they have got all those people they were called as who were called as outlaws. They have got the privilege, they have got the special right they've got to host the nation of the world of own soil. Now in the own soil. Now, sir, now they have got the privilege of hosting this in their own soil. Thank all of our distinguished international guests. Now, he's thanking everybody. He's thanking all the important international guests for having come to take possession with the people of our country of what is, after all, common victory of justice for peace and for human dignity. Now he's thanking all the international guests who come. They're thanking for coming there for the ceremony, to joining them in the ceremony. And this is going to be victory of a common victory of justice, peace and human dignity. Now he further continues. He says that we have at last achieved a political emancipation. Emancipation means freedom from restriction. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. So, what is he saying? That he pledges to liberate, to free his people from what? Continuous bondage of poverty. They've been poor. So, that continuous bondage of poverty, he's going to liberate from poverty. Deprivation, whatever they have been deprived of, whatever rights they have been deprived of, they will get that. The suffering, end of the suffering. Gender, there will be no gender problem, and other discrimination. So all the different type of discrimination, he's going to liberate his people from all these things. Never, never and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. Now he takes a pledge that never ever his people will experience this oppression which was there they had undergone. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement, and let freedom reign. Reign means rule. God bless Africa. So these were the contents of his speech. Now in this page they have talked about what all did he speak in his, what all things he mentioned in his speech. So what is the basic here? What does he pledge? He pledged to obey and uphold the constitution and to devote himself to the well-being of his people. He pledged to liberate his people from the what all things? First is continuous bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender and other discrimination. So in this page, complete page number 18, here we are talking about his speech. Now let us turn to the next page. Now here he is talking about in the ceremony what all happened. A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe and as a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters and troops carriers rode in a perfect formation of the Union Building, over the Union Building. Now what happens? They're always surprised, they're with wonder, they're looking up. What is happening there? South African jets and aeroplanes and the troops carrier, that means these soldiers, they all were rode in a perfect formation of the Union building. Now, beautiful, these aircraft, these helicopters, the jets were flying, and it was not only a display of pinpoint precision. Then, pinpoint precision means accuracy. With what accuracy they were flying, and what accuracy they all were in a line, array arrangement, and the military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy. Now, it was not only showing that accuracy of that so a beautiful presentation, but it also showed that the military's loyalty towards the democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. Freely and fairly elected. Only moments before, the highest generals of the South African Defence Force and police, their chests bedecked means decorated with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. So all these important people in army, in force, in police, they had all the ribbons decorated, and they had the medals on the chairs, and now they were saluting him and pledging their loyalties towards him and his new government. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. So now he's unmindful, he's not ignorant that earlier, if the situation would have been earlier, they would have arrested him. And now, instead of arresting him, what they are doing? They are saluting him. Finally, Chevron Impala jet left a smoke trail of black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag. Now, all the colors of the African flag, they are just taking out smoke trails. Now, see the next paragraph. In the next paragraph, they are talking about the day was symbolized for me by playing of two national anthems. Now, what was so special about that day? On that day, two national anthems were being played. And the visions of the white they were singing Nkosi Sikelel' Afrika, and blacks were singing Die Stem. So the white and black, they both were singing the national anthems, the old national anthem of the Republic. Now the black was singing Die Stem, which was the old national anthem of the Republic. Although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem, they once despised means hated, they would soon know the words by heart. Now that national anthem which they hated, they were singing. Now together they were singing, and now very soon they would learn this national anthem by heart. So now in this paragraph, what is the question, which is the important question? The question which can be framed in this paragraph is, why two national anthems were sung on the inauguration day, and what did it symbolize? What did it symbolize? What did it signify? That day, two national anthems were being played. The whites sang Nkosi Sikelel' Afrika, and the black people, they were singing Die Stem. Now, this symbolizes that both two groups are coming together, and who had been remained segregated on the racial ground, and it also, in a simpler language, it symbolizes unity. Now, they both have come together. Now, please, page 19, the last paragraph. Now, let us see what is there in the last paragraph. On the day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed, full of emotion. He's getting very emotional here with the sense of history. He's thinking about the past. He's thinking about the past sacrifices. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth, the white-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences. All the white people who are there in South Africa, they all got together, differences, and erected a system of racial domination against the black-skinned people. So they were divided into blacks and whites of their own land. In their own land, the blacks and whites were separated, they were segregated. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest and most inhuman mean very cruel and without any compassion societies the world would ever known. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century and my 8th decade as a man, the system had been, kindly turn the page number 20, overturned forever and replaced by one that recognizes the rights and freedoms of all peoples regardless of the color of the skin. Now, what is it trying to say here? Regardless of the color of skin. Now, a new government has been formed, which is not going to talk about the color, which is going to be above these colors, skin color, and they are not going to categorize people as black and white, and all the freedom, they will all rights and everything they will get irrespective of the caste, color, and creed. Now, Why was Nelson Mandela overwhelmed? Because he is thinking about the past, he's thinking about the freedom fighters, and he's thankful to the freedom fighters that whatever he has got today is because of the sacrifice which has sacrificed so many freedom fighters. Now, these you cannot count them and you cannot repay them. Now, let us see the next paragraph on page number 20. Page number 20, the first paragraph. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifice of thousands of my people, people whose suffering and courage can never be counted and repaid. Now, what is he trying to say? That all the sacrifices, we cannot count them, we cannot repay them, and they have got this freedom because of the supreme sacrifice. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. Now he says that he is the sum of all those African patriots who's gone before him, who sacrificed. Now that he said that long and noble line ended, and now began again with me. The whole line of the patriots has ended. African patriots ended. Now he is standing here. Now he will take his country further. I was pained that I was not able to thank them and that they were not able to see what their sacrifice had wrought. The sacrifice wrought means what the sacrifice had done and achieved. Now he's feeling bad that those people who had sacrificed, those freedom fighters, African patriots, they cannot see that what they had, their sacrifices had ultimately brought to the people of Africa. Next paragraph. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my people, country, and my people. Now, this apartheid had got a lot of impact, deep, lasting effect. It had created a bad wound, deep wound in them, and they would not forget for many years. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from the profound hurt which they had, these white people, that white supremacy had given. We will remember for a long, long time. It will be very difficult for us to forget that. But the decades of oppression and brutality and another unplanned effect, that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sissulas, the Chief Lutillis, the Yusuf Dadus, the Brain Fishers, Robert Sobukov of our time, men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity that their like may never be known again. Now, what is he saying? That although this was a bad phase, but what had come, what they had got, beautiful things, what had happened there, all this apartheid system had given so many people, important people had come together, and we've got many African patriots. We got them in return. So all these African patriots, the extra men were extraordinary, that extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity, and they, like many, never be known again. So such patriots, very difficult to come across such patriots. Perhaps it requires such depths of suppression, when you suppress so much to create such height of character. My country is rich in minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil. Now, what is he saying? What Nelson Mandela is saying in his autobiography, that his country, South Africa, is rich in minerals and gems that lie beneath the soil. But according to him, what is the actual wealth? But I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamond. Now he says the people, the people of South Africa, he considers as them the real wealth, as the greatest wealth, and as they are finer and truer than the purest diamond. Now page 21, this next paragraph. It is from these comrades in struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. From these people, from these patriots only, he learned what is courage, what is the actual meaning of courage. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk their lives for an idea. Again and again, for a small idea, he has seen that so many people can sacrifice a life. Now here he says that I have seen men standing up to attack and torture without breaking. He said that he's seen people who stand against these all torture without breaking, showing the strength, that they're showing the immense strength and resilience that defines the imagination. Resilience is the ability to deal with any kind of hardships and recover from its effect. The brave man is not he who does not now, see the line again. I learned that courage. What did he learn from all this? I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Triumph means the victory. Now, what lesson did he learn? That it is the courage, the real meaning of courage is not absence of fear, that you don't have any fear, but the triumph over it, but the victory over the fear. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he has conquered that fear. The person the brave, the person, the actual brave man is that person who has conquered his fear. He does not feel afraid, he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers the fear. No one is born hating another person because of the color of the skin and its background. No child is born with that feeling that he has to hate some people on the basis of the color, on the basis of the background, on the basis of the religion. Nobody is born with that intention. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Now, what does he say here? Now, he's saying that people should be taught how to hate. Now, why how to hate? Because if you're teaching them, if they can learn how to hate, then obviously this natural emotion, a natural thing like love can be easily taught to them. Now, here he says that what is he trying to say? Why does Mandela believe that people can taught to be loved? Mandela says that no one is born hating another person on the basis of caste, color, and creed. Love is a very natural feeling where this hatred is an acquired feeling. If hatred can be taught, love can easily be taught naturally and easily. Now, in this paragraph, he also talks about even in the grimmest times in prison. He's remembering the time when he was in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, when they were tortured beyond the limit. I would see the glimmer of humanity in one of the guards. Now you can see the glimmer, the shine of humanity in one of the guards' eyes. Perhaps just for a second, it might be just for a fraction, but that thing, that small glimmer would always motivate him to fight for his struggle or fight for his freedom. But it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. Man's goodness is there. A person who's having good quality, it will never fade up, and it might be hidden for some time, but it cannot be extinguished. So man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never been extinguished. So next we will take in the next class. So this is all for today. We will take all the remaining part and the important question. We will cover it in the next video.